everyone, and welcome to a demonstration on fir flowers, well, fir and leather flowers. The topic might be a little bit controversial these days because I guess fir is not as popular. However, if you know, perhaps I grew up in the Arctic and I spent 17 years in a very cold climate. So for me, fir has always been kind of part of my life and also a very utilitarian thing. If you have fur, you're warm. If you don't have fur, you're cold. So we wore it all the time. We had fur boots, fur hats, fur coats. And, it was just a normal thing. There wasn't anything artificial back then, that it was readily available. And the frosts where I grew up were very cold, down to minus 40 and lower. And frankly, even now I would opt for fur because this is a really good, way of keeping yourself warm. It allows your body to breathe, and if you need to be warmer, it warms you up. If you don't want to be that warm, it lets your body cool down, so you don't get sweaty or anything. So for me personally, it's a very good product, especially for such climates. And also, obviously, we're not talking about any rare furs or endangered species furs. Those are out of question, but standard furs that come from meat industries for me are totally fine to use. So today I've got some rabbits. Rabbits are very popular in Britain, and if anything, they're a bit of a pest. So you can easily get rabbit fur, probably hair as well, in natural colors, kind of grayish, brownish, whitish, and also in dyed colors of all sorts of hues and shades. So fir flowers are not a bit of a niche, I guess, but they are used, and even on catwalks, you will see, companies who specialize in coats, fur coats. Even these days, they still do it. They will use some flowers as corsages, or also to decorate expensive fur coats as perhaps some applique or other things. So if your customers are okay with fur, I think it's an interesting subject to explore. Plus, obviously, fur and leather go well with all sorts of felts and winter style fabrics, which are quite sturdy, wool, felted wool, and things like that. You can use these flowers to decorate a coat or some hats. Some people that take my classes, they make their own hats. So a little fur leather flower on a hat, personally, I think it would only make it better. Obviously, silk flowers are not suitable for winter. And as flower makers, we would like to explore different options to offer our customers as many things as we can. Since people who, wait a second, have somebody else. All right. Since people who I teach deal with leather, so I think fur is not much different, and it is quite an unusual material to explore, which we shall do today in a bit. I've tried my best to make several samples, but unfortunately, with some big orders and tax return, it was difficult to find enough time to do everything I could, but I have several flowers to show, and also I did partially made an orchid earlier today, so we'll have a look at that and perhaps finish it together. So I've worked with fur for a bit during all my years, but I didn't do much of it. So several years ago, I made a fur. This is a rabbit pillbox, so pillbox hat that is supposed to have a leather trim here. I've taken it off, and it can be used as a brooch. So this is a rabbit, and it can be blocked actually quite easily on simple shapes, on like a beret or how do you call it, or a pillbox, so you can even make a little hat out of it. I've got some mink today. This is an offcut of my mother's mink coat that she wanted to have shortened years ago. So I've worked with it. It is quite a long piece of bottom edge, and it can make you many flowers. It's quite interesting because it does have also these black stripes there, so you can play with, if you have something like this, animals have perhaps darker fur along the spine or something, so you can play with these bits as well to include them in different ways in your flowers. Also I've got some red. I actually didn't use it for any samples, but I'd like to, and red can work perhaps for a stylized poppy or a rose as well. I did one stylized rose, so hopefully that that might make inspire you in some way. And this, I have a bit of pink as well. The company that I use, and it's a British company, I can share a link. I think they sell on Etsy. I don't know if people want. It's not a problem. It's just, unfortunately, with all the Brexits and all these things, it's not so easy to buy from other countries these days. It's just so annoying. But I won't start about that because I'll get very stressed. Anyway, let me know if you want a link to these people that sell rabbits in different colors, and I'll share with you. Or perhaps in your countries you can get your hands on something. Wool, fur, or wool from sheep perhaps can also be used. Sometimes they have nice longer fleece locks and things like that. I haven't tried myself this time because I was limited in time, but if you have this fur available, you can also use it. In my childhood, we had very curly, like a baby lamb fur, which was very prized, and it's quite thin and delicate. I couldn't, I tried to Google, I couldn't find anything like that. I have a hat like this, but which I don't wear. Perhaps I could use it. But anyway, so perhaps you'll find something like this. So the fur shouldn't be on a very, thick base because it will be difficult for you to use. So rabbit in this way is really nice because it's a really soft, fur and soft leather underneath. So you can manipulate it quite easily. But try what you have. If you are into faux fur or artificial fur, I'm sure it can work the same here. Personally, I'm not a fan because for me it's just more plastic, and we have already so much, and it also obviously sheds, and it just produces microplastic when it does. Fur degrades naturally. It's a natural material, and also it doesn't need any treatment. It can last for years. It doesn't need washing or anything. So, or even dry cleaning doesn't really need that much. So I'm a fan, but if you're not, then use artificial fur. If you have that, there's probably quite good substitutes these days, but I just wanted to experiment with the real thing and combine it with real leather as well. For me, it made sense. Right. So if you have, seen pictures, you probably have seen I made one little echinacea, or a kind of echinacea, obviously stylized. So you can make perhaps some other style of flower and use fur as a center. Then also a thistle, which I did make before and in different variations. This is kind of a thistle that I based on a fabric thistle we made a couple of years ago. The idea with this thistle is that it's on a thin stem, so you need to kind of find a way of arranging it so it's more wearable and it doesn't tilt when you wear it. So putting it on a leaf like this with a brooch pin there makes it more stable as a corsage. But you can make a couple of thistles and maybe arrange them in some a little, bouquet, and put your pin elsewhere. So think about ways how to arrange it. But thistle has been quite popular, and I made several before and I sold them all, but didn't have time to come back to it to repeat. So yesterday I played along with some kind of like a rose shape. Obviously, as you understand, with fur, the shapes have to be pretty basic. We can't do something very elaborate with the very broken edge. It has to be pretty simplistic in a way. But I made kind of a simple 5-petal flower, which is like a wild rose, you can say. And I haven't assembled it yet. I will dismantle it to show you the process as well and how to make it. And also today I was trying to kind of finish the parts for the orchid, so we can put an orchid together, which will have leather petals, a leather center, and some fur side petals. So I've made this one. This is one, so it's going to go kind of like this, and then another one and the center there as well. So this is another flower that is a clearly recognizable shape, which you can easily make with some fur and leather. So yeah, so we have to go for pretty recognizable shapes, nothing too complicated, nothing with too many complex petals, quite simplistic, but at the same time still, you know, really nice and floral wise. Right, so what did I want to say again? So leather, fur, you can understand that it has, it is a leather, but it has hair on top. So we can treat it kind of as leather, but because of this fur, it's going to be a slightly different treatment of this material. Obviously, we won't be able to stiffen it, which is probably good in a way because it saves us time. I backed it with both leather and fabric. Tried both options, both work. The backing material should be stiffened to give some body because, as I said, for example, the rabbit is really soft, so you do need wires and backing material. Sorry, it's fur flying around. To make it a little bit more sturdy, so it does hold that shape. Also, in terms of cutting, because there is fur, and then both mink and rabbit that I used, the fur is actually it's quite long, relatively. So you won't be able to use scissors because with the scissors, you will chop the fur very unevenly and it will not look good. So you will need some kind of like a scalpel or precision cutting tool with a blade, and you will use it at the back to cut it out. And then perhaps carefully trim it with scissors, the edges if they're a little bit rough, because it is sometimes a bit tricky to cut out, you know, round shapes, because obviously you can't, you know, just go like this. You have to do it in small sections, and it can be a little bit uneven. So look for something like this. I got mine from Amazon, but some craft stores will probably have it as well. Or, you know, Stanley knife or like a paper knife, but get a new blade so it's sharp and you can cut the leather easily. So this is, yes, one thing that is different for sure. Then I had this, it's like an animal brush to, you know, to brush cats and other animals. So you can use that as well on your petals to, if they get a bit rough in the process when you're making them, to kind of comb them, or just some maybe hairbrush as well, a small one. Also, I did use some hairdressing scissors to trim a little bit the petals here, because when I just cut it with my sharp tool, the petals didn't look like hearts. They looked like this. So they just looked fluffy. And although there was a heart at the back, as you can see, the fur is long and it just stays round, basically. So if you want to give it a bit more shaping, you'll have to carefully trim it with the scissors and maybe hairdressing scissors. Mine are like thinning ones, so they have a little bit of like a brush there. So you can see. So they make it slightly uneven edge, and it blends in better. But that's optional. This is if you want to do it, or perhaps if you go for some animal shearling fur, sheep shearling, so that might be a denser fur, and you won't need to trim it further. It might just trim with a sharp tool when you're cutting it out. So try and see what works for your fur, and what flowers, depending on what flowers you want to make. It will also determine the way you're going to be finishing your petals. So this is probably it about kind of the differences between the leather that we normally work with and fur. I will switch my camera over to the table, and then we can have a look at how we can actually use it to make flowers. Let me just change camera.